Hey guys, Funkymusic here, and today we're going to be talking about what the best healer is in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. Spoiler alert, there is no real true best healer. A lot of people will point to meters as a way to decide who the best is. As I've talked about before, meters mean very little or anything at all unless you are facing somebody of the same class that you are playing. Each healer has certain spells that are different from another class and thus do different things better and worse than another healer, giving them a disadvantage or an advantage depending on the situation. So what we are going to cover in this video are those differences and situations, as well as talk about what classes are the easiest to play versus the harder classes to master. In my opinion, there are no bad healers in the game, just some that are more preferred or some that make certain fights easier due to their abilities and ease of use. I'm going to cover strictly healing spells, as every class brings at least 2 dispels, and each have a variety of buffs that they bring to the raid or provide with their talents, glyphs, and set bonuses, etc. But I want to try to strictly focus on healing with those classes. At the end, I will rank each of the healers in ease of use, effectiveness, and a few other things. So let's get to it. Paladins. Paladins are looked as a great tank / single target healers, with abilities like Beacon in fights where 2 targets are constantly taking massive damage, and they can be very effective at keeping tanks up with spells like Flash of Light and Holy Light. When combined with the proper glyphs, they also have the ability to do some AoE healing with Holy Light, albeit to a lesser effect than other classes. JOL is another spell that they can use to great effect and for AoE healing, and usually makes up the majority of Paladin's healing in almost every single fight. On the move, Paladins are somewhat limited to one spell, Holy Shock, but they can also use this time to rebuff Beacon and JOL. In terms of ease of use, because they only really have 3 heals with JOL and Beacon, just needing refreshed every so often, they are very easy to use and do not require the same skill as others to be decent at doing their job. That does not mean a very skilled paladin who knows what he is doing won't still be way better than a scrub one, and this is true for every healing class I will be covering, but they are much easier to learn and play than a lot of the other classes. Shamans. Shamans are quite unique, as they are kind of a middle ground of a raid healer and a tank healer. As I've always stated, I think Shamans are the most versatile healer in terms of what you need them to do. They don't really need to swap gear, glyphs, or talents to do well in both roles. With abilities like Chain Heal, they have the ability to do some amazing raid healing, especially when a group of players is damaged. Chain Heal does require the initial target not to be at 100% HP in order to jump, however. And this can cause some issues when I see people spamming this a lot, and I've made a couple videos on this already, making it a waste of mana or hitting players, especially tanks, who are near no one else, thus making the jump part of the heal pointless as well. You'll have to plan out using this heal and know when your target in order to maximize its effect. They also have very fast and hard hitting heals like Lesser Healing and Greater Healing Wave that can essentially do what a Paladin could do with Flash of Light and Holy Light. Riptide is a heal that, while is their only real on the move heal, it does have a nice effect that can be triggered by another chain heal on that same target. I want to put Earth Living Weapon and Healing Stream Totem in here as well. Yes, while they are a static heal that requires you to basically do nothing, it is worth mentioning that Shamans do have abilities to do some smaller AoE heals that can consistently be hitting players throughout the fight. Earth Shield is another heal that will be refreshed on your target, usually the tank, when it falls off. This heal is only required to be cast once on the target until it runs out of time or changes, or the tank swap targets. It is a good idea to cast this or refresh it when moving, as Shamans, like Paladins, have limited options, albeit maybe more options if they have Nature Swiftness off cooldown. While Shamans have 4 true heals that they cast, they also have options with things like Tidal Waves in their talents that give them options to choose which heal they want to cast next. As stated in other videos, a lot of people think Shamans are strictly chain heal spammers, and while it's true that is their go-to heal due to set bonuses and talents, plus its effectiveness in most situations, it is not what you want to be casting all the time, as any good shaman will tell you that. Priests. Priests are very unique in the fact that they have 2 healing trees to choose from. They are probably the worst class to use strictly healing for tanks, however, although it can be done. Priests have the most healing spells of any class by far. They also possess some of the stranger heals, and uses for them vary. I want to cover the spells that both classes possess first, and then break down the differences of the 2 classes. Flash Heal is on par with other classes' heals, such as Nourish, Lesser Healing Wave, and Flash of Light. It is their most useful direct heal to get players up and going with a decent heal. Greater Heal is a long casting but powerful heal that can hit for a lot, but also costs double the mana of a Flash Heal and almost double the cast time. Prayer of Healing is a powerful AoE heal that hits the entire party for a large amount and can easily bring them back up to full health. The problem with this spell, it only affects party members, thus making it effective in the party that the priest is located in within a raid. Prayer of Mending is a smart heal that jumps from target to target once the player with the prayer on them takes damage. The usefulness of this heal depends on if you are refreshing it on targets you know are going to be taking damage or currently taking damage, or continuing to let it see if it will bounce around as the stacks drop off. Renew is a heal over time spell that can be very useful for keeping a target up, and a great heal to be used while moving. I want to talk real quick about what I called some strange heals earlier and why. Binding Heal is a heal that is very situational, only beneficial if both you and the target have taken damage. Even then, you have to weigh the cost of using it. Holy Nova is a heal that damages as well as heals, but the cost of its continued use usually keeps players from using this spell. Power Word Shield, an absorption heal that will absorb X amount of damage before breaking. This heal varies for both classes, as it is generally considered a disc-only spell. It also has effectiveness when used by a Holy Priest as well, if they need to help cover, let's say for an example, Infest, or if they have the talent Body and Soul, which allows players to get a nice speed boost when they have the bubble on them. But this can also be very situational. So let's talk about the differences in classes and what they are generally used for. The Disc Priests. Disc Priests are more effective at using Power Word Shield across the raid in order to mitigate damage to the raid. The actual raw healing they provide is very little. And when I mean raw healing, I mean if the person is below 50% health, for example, and you need to get them to 100% health. Disc Priests do get penance, but since this has to be channeled, it can sometimes be ineffective, as other healers have already topped off the target before the priest can finish a full channel. Where Disc Priests really excel is at Lich King. Their Absorption Shield could totally negate the Infest spell that the Lich King cast, and this is an invaluable ability that they possess, especially for progressing guilds or zero buff run guilds looking to defeat Lich King. I have to talk about Divine Aegis as well. While yes, it is a talent, it does provide the disc with a few more options when it comes to heals and how they want to use them. Holy Priest. Holy is an amazing spec for healing the raid, with large amounts of heals. They additionally get Circle of Healing, which unlike Prayer of Healing, does hit raid members and is on the same cooldown length that a Druid's Wild Growth is. But unlike Wild Growth, which is a heal over time, this is a direct heal that once cast heals for a very large amount. Holy Priest also get Divine Hymn, which is by far the best channeled heal in the game, as it hits raid members and also increases the healing done to them by 10% from other heals and healers. Holy Priests can also pick up Desperate Prayer from their talents if they so choose to. This will instantly heal the caster, and is a nice oh shit kind of moment heal if they need so. Priests are mobile healers, however in order to cast anything big they really do have to stop. They are also limited to Renew and Power Word Shield that they can direct on a specific target. Prayer Mending can be directed as well, but because of the jump effect of the heal, the target varies unless it's reapplied. Holy Priests also have the added benefit of being able to cast Circle of Healing on the move. Both classes, again, also have access to Holy Nova, but due to its cost and effectiveness, it is usually not used in moving situations. Druids. Obviously the class I play and know the most about. So I'm able to go into a little bit more detail about this class, but it will not affect my final scores and rankings at the end of this video. Druids are the absolute best mobile healers in the game due to the fact that they can get out of snares and slows as well as use other abilities to dash and leap across the battlefield. Druid spells are mostly HOTS, or heal over time spells. They are one of the worst classes for tank healing, but as stated before with Priests, it can be done, although usually swapping glyphs, talents for gear is a good idea. Druids, like Priests, also have a lot of heals at their disposal. Druids require what I like to say is planning ahead healing. Because they are a hot-based class, you have to know when the damage is coming and what damage is coming in order to heal effectively, more so than any other class. For example, hitting everyone with a regrowth or making sure tanks have 3 stacks of life bloom may not be the best way to go when the boss is about to do massive raid-wide damage, when rejuve blanketing would have served you better. Druid's most effective hot and used spell is Rejuvenation. There are so many reasons why this spell works with everything that I have already made a video about this. Druids also have Life Bloom, another hot, which is most effective at being used to help keep the tanks up, although the bloom effect can be hard to control and is costly to refresh without a clear casting proc, especially if it is already at 3 stacks. Wild Growth, like Circle of Healing, hits up to a maximum of 6 players if glyphed, and have a hot effect on the targets. Swift Mend is a Druid's best on-demand heal that can hit hard on the move, while it does suffer from the effect of you must already have a hot on the target. Druids do, however, have spells that require us to stand still to cast. Regrowth is a hot and a direct heal combined. This is a great heal to keep rolling on the tanks, and to use in certain situations as well. Nourish, like other direct heals for other classes, does a decent amount of healing, but also requires hots on the target in order to do more healing. Healing Touch is a long-casting big heal that requires a lot of mana to use, and is generally only used with a Nature Swiftness proc. Tranquility is the Druid's channeled heal, and it only hits party members, not raid members. So while it is useful, it does have a very long cooldown, making it a one-time use on almost every boss fight. So how do I rank these healers? Let's try to break this down in a few categories. Tank healers. At number 1, I put Paladin. Number 2, Shaman. Number 3, Priest. And number 4, Druid. Again, all these healers can tank heal if needs be, or they are trying to solo heal a boss fight. However, these would be the preferred, in my opinion, of what is the best and which is the least apt in order to heal a tank. Raid healers. I put Druid and Holy Priest at number 1, Shamans at number 2, Paladins at number 3, and number 4 I put Disc Priest. I consider a Paladin's JOL not as effective, because it does a much smaller amount of healing versus something like a Renew or a Rejuvenation. I'm also talking strictly healing here, not absorbs. I will cover absorbs later in the video. Easiest healers to learn and use. Number 1, I put Disc Priest. Number 2, Paladin. Number 3, Shaman. Number 4, Druid. And number 5, Holy Priest. This has a lot to do with how many spells and abilities each class has. Now, some may argue this ordering, but in my experience, while Disc and Holy Paladins do have other spells they can use, some of which we have not discussed, they are either on such long cooldowns or only need to be refreshed every so often. It makes the ease of use for new players much easier to understand. Disc can essentially be played by using one button and pulling a lot of absorbs. Granted, any good player knows and will use more than one button, but that's basically how even the best players use the class. I put Holy and Druid at the bottom, as they require much more talent and situational awareness to really shine as bright as some of the other classes, as well as the amount of healing spells they have at their disposal. What about meters? As I've stated before, guys, and I've made a video about this already that I will probably put in the link in the description below if you want a more detailed answer to this question. The short and simple answer is that meters only really matter when you are going head-to-head against the same class. It's unfair to compare meters to another class that has different abilities, and it's not a fair judgment of skill in any way. What about absorbs, Funky? While absorbs are nice and do mitigate damage, they are not a true heal. What I mean by that is it is very hard for a Disc Priest to get a raid or group of players up that require healing. So while the mitigation is nice, if you have 5 or so players sitting at 50% HP, for example, a Disc Priest is the hardest class to get those players top back up to 100% HP. This is where we talk about raw healing versus absorbs and healing combined. I'm not saying the mitigation is not helpful or useful. I am simply saying once things go to hell, where there is an issue, you will want actual healing spells that help players get back to full strength as fast as possible versus throwing them a bubble. Again, guys, there's a lot in this video that I have already either covered in previous videos or maybe I have not got a chance yet to cover. If there's a question, something you disagree with me about, please leave a comment down below. I will either make a video response to that comment or I will try to answer it if it's something that I've already covered and talked about. But let me know what you guys think of the rankings. Right, wrong, what do you guys think? Is this class harder, that class easier? Well, let me know what you guys think. I want to see your guys' opinions and comments on what you guys think is the best and whatnot, and comments on anything that I've talked about in here. Please leave them down below, and I will try to get a video or I will try to respond to you guys. So thanks for watching. As always,